pound the
All
air,
right.
but in my mind,
Well, Director Painter has declared that we're having a post-match interview with our newcomer out-of-town visitor, Mr. Art Benjamin. Mr. Benjamin is a mathemagician, a professor of mathematics in Los Angeles, California. He just played a very exciting match with the Constellation Flight runner-up and epic scrub Jerry Tanzi. So, what brought you to St. Louis this evening?
Well, I am. There is in St. Louis at Washington University. There's a for the next couple weeks. There's a camp for gifted math kids from age 7 to 12. It's called Epsilon Camp, and I'm wearing the new T-shirt I just got today. And I was doing some of my mental math presentations and teaching the kids how to do math in their head fast.
317 times 241.
Well, so if
come on,
all right, 76,397.
Correct. Is that true?
All right.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Good enough. All right.
Excellent.
Well, we have to do this. We have to.
So my specialty is good. All right. I'm glad I wasn't bluffing there.
All right.
My specialty is squaring. Give me a 3-digit number and I'll square it much faster than that.
There's a trick to
911.
829,921.
There's tricks
Not
to
bad.
that.
Yes, but
Excellent.
But any 3-digit number, any 4 digits, not like just squaring numbers that end in 5. So, and I can teach you that, show you that. I mean, but
No, you probably can't.
I can teach you it. Whether you'll absorb it is up to how much practice.
And
you
you'll
put
have to
into it.
practice it too. I mean,
Absolutely.
you don't
So anyway, so I was giving some of my presentations here. I did some for the kids and some for the parents. You know, the parents want to know, how do you handle kids like that? Because I was sort of like one of those kinds of kids, you know, myself. And they said, I'm a sort of grown-up version of it. And go, okay, what do you do? What did your parents do? What do you do for your kids? Anyway, so so I was delighted to see, because I'm only here for today, that there was this St. Louis club that played on Tuesday nights, and had a great time tonight. Met so many friendly people.
Really?
And absolutely.
Our regulars weren't even here.
did you hang out with,
you
dude?
know,
Jim
so
was friendly.
it was great. And then I played some really fun matches. Every match I played was entertaining, enjoyable, interesting, you know, and it was
Hey,
great.
what?
Especially the
where-
last match. I was there
with George. I didn't watch too closely,
but
that game got interesting at the end.
Well, there was a
double
cube.
fives twice was
There was a cube I gave where I mean, at one point he was 5% at most, but 5% happens about 1/20th of the time. So you just
You're saying he took a cube with 5% game equity.
it might have been at the time. I mean, I had 50 pips. It was like 50 pips to 65 pips, and I think I even had like 2 checkers off or something. So it was but you know he was now the cube. It was a score was I was up 3-0. So keep in mind it wasn't so he had more reason to take
with 5%.
maybe 10%.
Are you defaming one of our players?
No, he was.
I don't want to hear that.
He was actually saying, "Look, let's just. I'm happy to end this match if it ends here." So I don't think he would have necessarily done it earlier in the evening, but he won, and that was great.
Right.
He won,
George.
and he won, and it was 4-3. And I think did I win the
I think you
Crawford
won the
game as a
Crawford
gammon?
game. As a gammon,
He rolled
I
a
believe.
one
As a
and
gammon.
missed, and he rolled doubles.
Oh wow.
Anyway, that was great. I mean, it's fun. It's exciting. If you're not that emotionally involved, we're not talking like this is like major money or something like that. It's like I'm rooting for you. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Be excited. Get those doubles. You roll the doubles. He did. Okay, great.
We want the story.
The crowd went wild, and we played another game. So, anyway, so I mean, I play this game because there's just so much to learn. I mean, just I love analyzing things with XG, and if the error rating, the PR is low, then I'm pleased with myself, and when it's high, I say, "Wow, I've got some more to learn here." And
You don't say
I'm
really pissed as hell. That's what I always say.
I'm disappointed in myself, but usually I come away learning something or appreciating some aspect of the game that I didn't appreciate enough before, and like, oh, that score really mattered, or oh, you know, this was much more gammonish than I gave myself, you know, than I took into account. And anyway,
Those moments of understanding are part of what make the game worth playing.
there are fewer, as I'm playing more and studying more, I'm seeing fewer roles where I'm saying, I just don't know what, I would say it here over the board. I'd say, 5-1 to play. I said, I just don't know what the right game plan is here. And usually I'd say about half the time, those are where my errors are at those roles where I really wasn't sure. And I'm glad to see that. But then about half of my errors are plays that I didn't even think twice about. Like, what? That was what's going on here? Especially with doubles. I think if I've learned anything from the computer, it's play the doubles very carefully, because oftentimes a double could be a great roll. Like you just roll double fives or something, and you're so excited, and your winning chances just improved tremendously. Yet you made the second best play, and you could have been winning 5% even more games if you had just taken the time. Or you're deciding between two plays. Do I make the hitting play or a non-hitting play? A hitting play or non-hitting play? And finally decide, I'm going to make the hitting play, and you make the first hitting play you looked at, only to realize that there was another hitting play that did better. But you were all deciding between the first hitting play and the non-hitting play. First hitting play and non-hitting. Okay, I'll hit. But you didn't stop to say, oh, yes, you should have hit, but you should have played the other number differently. I mean, those are the kinds of errors that I make a lot when the computer analyzes it, and I have to train myself when I'm playing live or online to.
You're starting to filibuster.
Yeah.
Jerry, do you have a question?
The heavy-handed director here.
I interrupt you.
No,
okay, go ahead.
Please, no, I'm done. I'm
resume.
Ask anything. What anyone know the day of the week they were born? Don't say what it is, but does anybody know?
I do.
What year were you born, if I may, Jim?
53.
And what month?
December.
December what?
26th.
Was a Saturday.
Correct.
Okay.
Very good. Now, you can do that. I learned the mnemonic for that, okay? But it would still take me a minute to do the math.
Yeah.
I can't do it right off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, like everything.
I was born on March 14th, 1947.
March 14th was a Friday.
Thank you. It's on a certificate. I didn't remember.
What year? Give me the year.
1977,
Okay.
January 7th.
Is a Friday also.
Yep.
Next.
2004, April 6th.
Is it?
Wow.
That's not you.
That's not
But that's a Tuesday anyway. But one of your kids?
1987, April 6th.
Okay, was a Monday.
So you're not doing
Well
a
done.
calculation.
I am doing calculus.
It's a giant
quickly.
calculation mod 7. at
That
the end of the
quickly.
day.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do it and I'd screw it up.
No,
But I knew the algorithm.
the first thing is you come up with a number from the year, and that it does take. But
I
I've
know
been
all
doing
that.
it for enough time that some years, like 1987, I actually get to the year code without having to do the calculation because, I perform at enough schools. I might have a whole year where I've got a bunch of kids born in 1987, and eventually it just that year becomes memorized. Whereas 1946 is one I have to actually calculate, and but then you just have a single digit, and I got a code for
But still, it's
date.
extremely
Well,
fast.
thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome. I did it. It would still take a minute after I knew the algorithm.
Right.
I never got to the point where I could just
I mean, if
spit
you
out
ever,
an answer.
if you want to ask me questions about like counting pips, it is something that I do very fast, and I think part of the problem is I think most people don't count pips really correctly. I think they count pips this way when it should more be that way.
I don't know what you mean.
Let me show you.
Yeah, show us some stuff.
So
Because I've always, when I initially learned, I always did differentials. I didn't screw around with the total count.
And I'm the opposite. I go straight
The
for
total
the total
count.
For the
okay?
total.
Okay.
So here are the numbers that you should
42.
learn by heart. Okay,
take this
so you said 42, and that's great, right?
Okay.
You know that's 42.
Yeah, that's
But
all I
you
know.
should also know, how to count both forwards, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 15 times 2 is 30.
Okay,
You know,
you're right,
And this is 10 times 2 is 20. And more importantly, be able to count backwards so that you know that this is 30.
30, exactly.
And this is 36, right?
Correct, yeah.
And now, if you've got a position that's, say, like this,
50.
It's right. You should look at 40
Right.
plus
Plus
10
Right.
is 50.
Group and then
You
add.
don't monkey
Right.
around like that. You
Yeah.
see the and
Right.
it's
You
what
do groups.
it's what
groups and
what's
then add the groups.
that's right.
Right.
Jack Hussein
But you have
called
to
this
memorize the
cluster
groups.
counting.
But you have to memorize the
counting.
groups.
But they show up so often.
Yeah.
Let me show you another one.
Here's another one. Well, here's a 30.
That's a 30.
This is a 30, and this is
That's
a
30.
34, and it shows up all the time. You should know your multiples of 13, of course, for the midpoint,
Yeah.
and you know the 18, right? But here's the other part that you'll save a lot of time on is when you're counting, let's say a back checker position. Okay, let's say those are your checkers back.
Yeah.
Okay, then
87.
it's 85.
85.
And
85.
and here's how. You know that this is the 20 point. So you don't go 20, 40, 62, 85. You say 20 times 4. I've got 4 checkers
Okay,
back.
and then add?
80
Gotcha.
plus 2 plus
Then you do
3
the
is
operation.
85. You do
Correct.
80
It's
plus 2
operate.
plus 3 is 5. You don't monkey around with 22 and 23. Just do
Trying to-
80.
But I mean, what do you think about Simborg's formula? You just do it 3 times, take an average.
That's brilliant. I think
I
he's
know,
got some
I know.
very practical.
I know.
Excellent.
So-
Excellent.
Well,
What
Jerry
about-
has a business going about pip counting. For $10, he'll do a pip count. For 20, he'll tell you what it is, and for 30, it'll be accurate.
There you go. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, have you learned? This is very new. Phil Simborg talked about it.
I saw that and I didn't understand any
Well,
of it.
this came about when Phil and I were playing a quickie, a 2-point match thing in Ohio. And he was saying, well, you know about the colorless pip count thing.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. I said, but you can simplify it even more than you realize. And here's the so you set up any position. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna give.
I didn't get this at all.
Oh, but wait till I show it to you because it actually feels like magic. Okay.
Like mathematics.
Yeah.
You're still trying to sell those damn books. Okay.
Oh, that's right.
All right. Okay.
Hey.
Good for you.
Works. Okay, so here, just set up.
I'm
I mean,
terrible at it.
just set up any reasonable looking position. Okay. So
Okay.
I'll put some checkers here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you want to count. You want to get a difference in pip count here. Okay.
That's why I do differential.
Here, I'm going to make, if you like differentials, you'll like this even more, okay? This is going to save you time, okay? This colorless pip count goes as follows, and you're not going to believe me when I tell you. Here it is. First, I find the 15th pip, the 15th checker. So there's 11 on the inner board, plus 2, plus 2. These are the 15th checkers, right? I now count the pip.
I still don't get it.
I'll tell you why in a minute. I now count the pip count for these 15 as if they're all mine, and this pip count for the other 15 as if they're all yours. And the difference in those is the actual difference. And and the nice thing about that is when you're doing this, all the numbers are small. Here, I'll even make something like this. All the numbers that you're counting here are small. Like I'm just counting 10 and below. And on your side, you're just counting 13 and below. There's no 20s or 23s to monkey around with. Now you ask, why does that work? And once I tell you, you'll understand. So I'm pretending like all of these are white and all of these are black, right? Now what happens, you agree that if you exchange 2 checkers of the same color, you haven't changed the pip count at all. Correct. Obviously, right? Right? If I change these 2 checkers, the pip count hasn't changed. What if I change, this checker and that checker?
Doesn't
Okay.
change the relative pip count.
It doesn't. What's happened is this checker has now gone back 16 pips. And this checker has gone back 16 pips. They're both 16 pips farther away than they used to be. You see what I'm saying? So
It's a rotation.
What's that?
The numbers are rotating.
The total changes, but we're still, if this checker goes here, black has just lost 16 pips, and if white goes here, white has just lost 16 pips.
Yeah.
Therefore, you really can make exchanges, and you don't change the relative pip count, the difference. So now if you look at this and say, okay, what's white's colorless pip count? I look at this, I see 41, right? 40 plus 1, or 42. 41 plus 16, 57 plus 20 is 77 for this side. Now we do that side. You see here a 40 plus 2 is, oh, by the way, how to hold on to the pip count. How do I hold on to 77? On this hand, no, I keep my hands in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So I can hold a 7 and a 7, this was sign language, 70. So now I'm holding on to my side, 77. I won't
It's a continuous sign language in terms of its modification.
There you go. So there's
Modifier.
77. And now I count this side. I see 42, 50, plus another 50 is 100, and that was it, because this was the 15th pip. So it's 77 to 100, which means white is up 23 pips. And I think with practice, this can be especially when you're just looking at a difference. It's not like a racing cube where you need to know the exact numbers, but if it's like, well, who's winning and by how much? Oh, I'm up 10 pips? Well, I should play that double fives and escape. Oh, I'm down 10 pips after the roll? Well, then I'm going to keep contact. I'll just stay here. And, and you didn't need to know that it was, that it was 80 to 100 or 90 to 110. You just need to know it was a 20.
Differential.
That's the differential. So anyway, I just like to say, because I
I'm the
don't
stupidest guy in this room, clearly.
But you
I'm
I've
the
never
only
done
guy.
that before.
No, I don't.
didn't use sign language
like
in
stupid.
pip counting before.
Yeah,
I
so the
started
only
playing when I was
technique
6
I
years
use
old.
to
No,
keep
I
the
use
count.
comparison count,
But the thing
all of
is,
us-
you can still do
I'm still like,
you can
I
still
don't
do
get it.
comparison count, but compare these 15 checkers with those 15 checkers. You also have to take into account things like, if they've a checker on the bar, that's on your 0 point. You count that as one of your zeros. Born off checkers, you count towards your stock as well.
This kind of is the best of both worlds for me, because I'm a fan of getting the pip count on both sets, but I can definitely tell there are times when all I need really is the differential. So this is
Right.
just a lot easier pip count. to do.
Isn't, because the numbers are smaller.
they're smaller.
Everyone would agree that if these checkers were all white and those checkers were all black, it would be a faster count than this position. Do you agree with that, Jim?
Absolutely.
I still don't. I'm like,
Colorless pip count.
do you,
I'm like
Jim, do you
stupid.
agree that if all these were white
Okay.
and all these were black, that
Yeah.
would take you less time to count than this position?
yeah.
Because all the white pips are 10 and below, all the black checkers are 13 and below, and that's all you have to do. You find the 15th checker. Now, if the 15th checker is here, well, you have to keep that in mind, right? But that even balances out with this one here, so it's okay. You just ignore those. That anyway. It's really kind of cool. Maybe in a year or so I'll write an article for the USBGF prime time.
You better.
Yeah. So.
Because
By the way, is everybody here USBGF member? I hope.
yes.
Yeah, I have to renew.
I
but yeah.
I
You should,
enrolled
absolutely.
personally. I maybe should have enrolled as the club,
Right.
but
It's,
I re-enrolled.
It's worth it. I mean, I think it's going to survive. I think it has legs. It's got good.
Good night, Allison.
Good night. I say that I'm on the board, so I care about the organization, and I think it's a shame that this kind of organization hasn't been around for 50 years. I mean, there are associations in chess and Scrabble and bridge,
Right, sure.
and backgammon sort of had its chance in the 70s or 80s, but didn't. And I think this is going to make it. And
what do you think about the rules?
I think I love the process that they're going through now, which is, they really got the directors involved. They have now, and after the directors made a bunch of
They haven't appealed to
constructive
me, but
changes,
go ahead.
and then they've put it out. They've put out the new They've put out the new rules for public comment, and they got a lot of comments. And I can tell you, sitting on the board, that Rich Munitz is saying, okay, we're taking in a lot of the public comments, not all of them, but when we didn't, here were our reasons for disagreeing. And all of these are steps in the right direction. The set of rules is now a small set. It's 4 pages, 3 or 4 pages, which is anyone can read and digest. And there's also a ruling guide that'll help directors if they want more suggestions and details for those gray areas that rarely happen. But you want a guide, it's there, but it doesn't. The director still has a lot of autonomy. I think originally they were presented a little bit too much as, here they are, community, and please endorse them. And guess what? Some people don't like being told what to do, especially since if there really has been a governing organization over the last 40 years, it's really been the network of directors. And you really have to respect that.
We have one player that dissents from the dice landing on checkers, and so we have not adopted that. But I have played that way, and it's like, that's not a problem. It's
more of a worry about the problem. I worried about the problem until I played in a small tournament, and other than a couple people saying, so what is that, and that is good. But
I think that was good. I'm the director here.
There you go. So that would be popular. But I'm saying the point is you don't want to do anything that's going to cause the director to have more work. And what's neat is it hasn't, and it speeds up the game to the point where our Chouette players, that's what they use. They do dice on checkers because they don't want arguments, they don't want fights, and they just aren't there. It speeds up the game.
Saves a little time.
I would have even thought that rolling on, let the die jump the board.
I play that way with one of my friends.
But I'll tell you why I don't like that. I think we're in the age of streaming, and if you see both dice on one side, you know who just rolled it. You don't want to look at this and say who just rolled that 4-2. So I think in respect to that, that you may as well keep, and maybe there's less of a chance of some manipulation.
What if both die land on checkers?
Totally fine.
Same thing.
And the motivation for it was this: because we're playing with clocks more. The person who's rolling on the inner board side is going to have more dice landing on checkers,
even though you can't do it.
And that I'm saying it's just going to happen more often, and that gives that player a little bit of a clock disadvantage if they have to re-roll. And so the discussion was: do you then bam hit the clock and restart it, or do you just let the roll stand? And the decision, basically, after people played with it enough times, they said, let the roll stand. It's not ambiguous what that roll was supposed to be, and so you do it. Anyway, so that was the motivation, was because of clocks, and not giving a disadvantage to the player on the side of the inner board. And then once that was explained to people and directors and things like that, they go, okay, I guess that makes sense. And once they find that it doesn't, but here's the neat thing is in the new rules gives the directors 2 options. They have the choice of yes or no on dice on checkers. Okay, like I know the director in Ohio is, we'll never use dice on checkers. Okay, well that's fine. You just say it, and we're not going to disbar you or not fund your tournament because of that. And the other one, which I think is the other thing that people can opt out of, is the legal moves requirement. Some people feel that if a person makes a mistake, they make a mistake, and that's their penalty for being careless. Or if you require legal moves, then it only hurts the honest player, and that the dishonest ones are going to not do it.
Well, that's what I grew up with. Back in the day, if your opponent screwed up, that's his problem. That's his fault.
And again, the motivation is a lot of people are coming to tournaments only having experienced online play. And when you play online, you just can't make an illegal move. Yeah. You can't put your checker on the bar. You can't do things that are... And I think there's a certain nervousness about the people going from computer play to live play. We want to remove those obstacles. We want to keep the game we want to say this is a game of ethics. This is a good sportsman's game, and when you make a mistake, or you point it out to them. Said, "Up, you should have another ace." And you know what? I think in the long run, yeah, there will be a couple of jerks out there, but that's life. It's a price you pay for having an honor code that generally raises the level and of the game. And if a person is constantly not, reporting things, there'll be the pressure of the watchers, the viewers.
And I think an incident like that can really turn off a new player to the game fast.
Yeah. And imagine if you were watching. This has been among your high-level players, right? And it's being streamed, and a person clearly makes an illegal play, and the person watching it doesn't say anything. And that happens a second time in the match. Now you start saying, well, player X clearly isn't playing legal moves, or seems to only correct it when it's to their advantage.
Right.
You might start saying, tisk, 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 player X, we don't,
But this is an issue I have.
Yeah.
That I would think that anybody overlooking the game can speak up and say that was illegal. But they don't do that.
And there is the whole thing about kibitzers, and basically it's a can of worms when you let kibitzers talk. The only time you let them talk is a game ends and they say your clock is still running. You're allowed to say that, and I can't think of too much else. You can say to the director, the clock expired or something like that. But
I played in Chicago in the fall of '96, and they were playing legal moves, and I was the only person that was ever saying anything. I know everybody else was letting things stand, and I was being the jerk.
But because you were playing honestly.
That's that. I
if everyone else
better we just play the old way.
The old way is if everyone's cheating, then I'm a fool to play honestly. But you know what? I'd rather we move towards the direction of it's an honorable game.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to, and I think especially with regard to new players. But all that being said, the USBGF rules allows a tournament director to say instead of playing legal moves, we play quote responsible moves, right? And there still are things like you can't responsible moves. Meaning that if a player misplays, then c'est la vie. But they still can't do stupid things like put their own checker on the bar and stuff like that. So it's still
judgment call.
There's still some certain kinds of illegal moves that we're still not going to allow. But if my opponent rolls a 6-6 but plays it as 6-5 and doesn't do it, then if they play responsible moves, you're allowed to condone the 6-5. But that's a director's choice. It's a director's call. They have to announce it.
I've got a lot of power and authority.
Well, now the new proposed rules
the great thing is we've never had to make rulings ourselves. One player in particular, we all know well, beavered a cube in a match, and then after the fact, it was like, okay, well, it went by, and that's over and done with. Okay, but by